And I really hope that companies don't take the pandemic as everything needs to be single use, and we're back into this like containers and tons of trash. And they really look at a way to do things properly. Maybe have more sanitation stations back of house so that we can reuse materials. I think that's a big thing of mine, is like how that is going to work. And so when we do return, it's not, oh, well, we didn't pollute, the world for a year, so let's double pollute it now.
At events since 2005. I've always been inspired by people coming together to share ideas. I'm Amanda Younger, and I'll be your host on Happy Hour, where I share a drink and a laugh with guests over stories and our hope for the future of the live event experience. Today, I'm speaking with co-founders of Hank and Ed Management, Sameen Ahmad and William Orner. Thank you to Seedlip as we enjoy their Spice 94 with warm aromatic blend of allspice and cardamom with fresh citrus notes of grapefruit and lemon to balance the long, bitter finish of oak and cascarilla. I don't even know what cascarilla is, but it's in there and it's delicious. Their growing promise is to be carbon neutral by 2022. Make sure they have sustainable packaging and all natural ingredients. Also, thank you to Cheeky Cocktails for their fresh ingredients. Today, we use their crayon syrup and fresh lemon juice. Be sure to check out their products online and use the code HAPPYHOUR for a special discount. Special thank you to Loxamana Media. You create, we capture. Be sure to continue the conversation with us online at eventspeak.com. Subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify and iHeartRadio, and favorite us on Stitcher to get all upcoming episodes and help others find our show. Be sure to comment below. We love as much feedback as possible in our early stages, and a promotional giveaway is on. A lucky listener will be randomly picked from our followers on Facebook and Instagram at Happy Hour AY. That's Happy Hour AY. It almost looks like Happy Hooray, but it's not. But it's Happy Hour AY. Anyways, together we can make the difference in live events. In honor of Dry January, I'm doing a little Seedlip drink here. It's called Fireworks. It's going to be pretty good. So we've got 2 ounces of Seedlip Spice 94, a little cheeky crayon syrup, a little cheeky lemon juice, and some ginger beer. It makes me not miss alcohol, so that's okay. It's got enough spice for me to keep going. Anyways, you guys, tell everyone who you are, what you're doing, and what you're drinking for happy hours.
Hi there. I am Sameen, co-founder of Hank and Ed, and some of my clients that are very exciting include High Times, which is how I met Amanda. I'm also working with the EDM giant Insomniac on sustainability, doing a lot of merchandising deals as we pivot during COVID with certain brands like Bacardi. And I'm actually enjoying Sober January as well, and having a local Austin limestone filtered water, Rambler grapefruit. And for someone that doesn't drink soda water, this is exceptionally great. So cheers.
Nice.
I am the other co-founder of Hank and Ed, along with Sameen. And I, along with my duties with assisting her with all of the lovely things, most of the lovely things that she mentioned, I'm also the general manager of Billy Strings, which takes up a vast majority of my time, and I'm grateful for that. And I too am drinking a fine alcohol-free beverage, the Rambler grapefruit sparkling water, and I will take full responsibility for Sameen's new interest in sparkling water, because she has hated it adamantly, vehemently for years.
It's something about the seltzer, the Northeast seltzer that just never did it for me. But hey, your drink,
cheers, you guys.
Cheers! Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, to Hank and Ed. Now we actually met, as you said, on the Cannabis Cups through High Times back in the day. And of course, we had artists like Melissa Etheridge. We had 311, right? 311, yes. 311, The Game, Big Gigantic. There was a few others, but I know before we go anywhere, we have to talk about Lil Wayne.
Yeah, so my version is all over the place. And it started with checking in with Bill right before, Lil Wayne was on campus. So he's at the event. So that was check. good news. We're good. We're going to go on. He wants to be paid in advance and in cash. And so that was a no. or a maybe, you know, like those weird conversations that happen. So we decided, like, let's just give him a pound of weed. We know where we can get that from. So we did, and he got on stage and he brought the pound of weed on stage with him. And I left because I'm like, Bill's got this under control, and see you later. I'm going to go, you know, check up on the merch booth or the vendors or the other things that are going on. And on the golf cart, I went.
Well, I mean, to kind of start from the beginning of the day, and mind you, we had other artists on the bill that day, but as with every headliner, their team comes in to sound check and do all that. So they were around, you know, for the most part of the day. So I felt fairly confident that we were going to have a show because everybody came, you know, their team came, did the sound check and all that. And, you know, it was toward the end of the sound check where when I was speaking with one of their tour manager or the rep or whatever, it came to my attention that he was still in Atlanta and we were in San Bernardino, California. So
right.
Then I was like, all right, well, you know, you start doing the math on the flight patterns and things like that. And that was when I first learned how to track a private jet.
There you go. New talents, new skills.
Yeah,
Put that at the bottom of the skills and achievements.
Yeah. Good resume builder.
You know, but again, as with every headliner, they have their own idiosyncrasies, but we were ready for everything until we weren't.
Right.
I would say ready for anything instead of everything.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people just kind of noticed, I know, like during the actual concert, he had come out on stage, but he kept asking everyone to kind of like get hype and start jumping up and down, and normal things that you kind of ask a crowd that's like had maybe too much to drink. But a crowd that has spent all day at a cannabis cup, the best that they can do is a good sway.
Yeah, well, it was a concentrates cup.
Yes.
So
it was a little bit more.
And
that's right.
To boot, it had been registering somewhere, you know, in the 105 to 115 range all day long.
Fahrenheit. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was super hot. Yeah, that's right.
So that also came into play, but you're right. He pulled up, got out, and went right on stage. So it was like, it was unusual because I usually don't do that. Anyway, and so he started doing his thing, and tour manager came over and said, hey, you know, we want to square up. And I said, looked on and he's doing his thing. And I was like, oh, all right. You know, it was like 15 minutes in. I was like, okay, you know, and I had the envelope I had set a series of envelopes in my pocket for everybody to get paid. And so I opened up the envelope and I pulled out we have a receipt, if you will, and the guy signed it. Right. And away we went, and I was standing there and I was looking out the back because we had an exit plan where all the vehicles that came would turn around. And I was about to go check on that and make sure we were ready for his exit, which was to be in about 40 to 50 minutes. I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I see the tour manager. He looks at me and he looks over, and, you know, the Wayne rolls, you know, probably 25, 30 people deep.
Right.
All of a sudden they all start coming my way. And I'm like, okay, well, I better get out of the way. They're going to go into the dressing room. You know, they had a well-appointed dressing room. So anyway, I'm like not thinking anything of it, and I back out of the way, and I look, and everybody started making a beeline, and his drivers and all the security personnel started to scramble, and then the cars immediately whipped around, and away we went. And the tour manager, who was a great dude, who does lots of folks you would recognize, I was like, hey man, what's going on? And he's like, he's done, we're out of here. And I paraphrased because he was a lot more compassionate than that. Right. So watching it on TMZ, he was like, you know, don't you ever fucking ask me to do this ever again.
Ever.
And then mic drop and out the door he went. Again, that I couldn't hear because it was so distorted, basically. Yeah.
I think the two big things that kind of came from that were one, yourself, me, Larry, and Mary Jane writing what TMZ was going to get, like our statement, which was interesting. I had never been on that side of the news, right?
Right.
And then later on in the evening, majority of the staff drinking out of his bottle of Dom Perignon that had been iced that we couldn't return. And there was like 20 of us drinking like a sip. And so I think
That's
those
all
are
we could get.
That was
the
probably
two highlights.
probably the biggest lesson learned is that you can't return chilled, expensive champagne in the state of California. So we always
As much as you might try.
Yeah, so you always chill the
we
champagne.
always chill the champagne. And we had gone back to that space months later, and the bottle was still, it was like on the top of the O.
No. Was it still there?
The bottle was still
It's a
there
vase.
when we
It's a
had
sustainable
gone
vase.
back, a few other times. I will say that, I while I in no way, shape, or form condone the action as an artist manager, I don't condone any actions like that. However, we did ultimately work with him multiple times after that, and he was Lil Wayne and his camp were quite great to work with.
Oh, that's
I was
great.
not a fan after that had happened. I was completely in shock of something like that happening. And in fact, like we laughed because you got to check. We're like, oh, it's not like you can. We're gonna cancel the check before you get to the airport.
Yeah.
It was pretty immediate.
All that well thought out. If that was your plan,
Well, and they wanted to deposit a significant amount of money through an ATM, so that was fun too. But hey,
it's a bump in the road of a great relationship that really worked out.
yeah, we all had a great time. It was a good moment for the three of us.
Yeah, I think so. I celebrated it.
Yeah.
I remember people leaving the arena going like, but is it over? Or is it coming back on? Or
I
I don't
remember.
know. What just happened? What are we doing? I guess
be here
we're leaving.
tomorrow.
Are we? Is it
remember-
still open? Can we just like still hang out?
Yeah.
Here, I remember quickly making the call to cue house lights.
Because they're
Turn
like,
them
I don't know, we could just chill here for a little bit, I guess. And you're like, no, you should probably go.
throwing things, and
Is
that's
this part of it? Is this part of it? Have you guys ever experienced a walk off like that before? I haven't, so
No.
that's why I'm like,
Not a
this is a story.
We've had on shows that we've been a part of where she's been a festival director or I've been a production manager. We've had to deal with the inability for an act to arrive on time.
Uh-huh.
And one, in fact, was grossly late, but ended up making it just as we were about to pull the plug and then put on a great show. Other events that we have been,
Well, real quickly to interject, we did actually have another Lil Wayne incident. Different festival. Life is Beautiful, but we were not, we were part of the VIP team, so definitely not a part of this world, and had tons of fans that are really excited. And 15 minutes into the set, we're just like on the screens, Lil Wayne will not be performing tonight. And a little bit of told you so, that sucks, oh damn, let's just move on.
You guys have been managing production teams and crews in multiple festivals like Camp Bisco, Life is Beautiful. I know that I was with you guys at Life is Beautiful once, which was great. Peach Music Festival. I think there's some other ones. Has there ever been an event that you've run that you have probably been most proud to tell other event professionals, to where they're like, damn, you did that? And you're like, yeah, I did that.
I would say it's a two-part answer. So we were working on Roots Picnic and Hall & Oates Hoagie Nation this year, which unfortunately neither one happened. But there was, something had happened at Roots Picnic last year, and we were able to use the way that we reacted at Life is Beautiful after the October 1st shooting, and how we dealt with the plan and how we dealt with communication, to give Roots Picnic some advice. So I was really proud to be able to learn from such an unfortunate experience and be able to carry over that safety and protection plan over. And I think that really has helped sort of solidify how important it is to make sure that every single person on your production team knows where to go when things hit the fan, if they hit the fan. So that was a big learning. And then the second thing I would say is Camp Bisco. I mean, it's been this like gnarly, festival for so long. And we came in 2 years ago and turned it around to something that was organized on time. And the thing that I think was really awesome was how grateful Live Nation and the rest of the partners were. So for me and for you too on the stage, I think it was just a big accomplishment.
Nice.
I do tell a story of John Orner and I at the Michigan Cup when both medical teams had to take patients off site, and we were the medics in the medical tent, and the individual came in having eaten 2 500 milligram edible bars. So I remember that story. Seeing how I have a lot of people in the medical field, my family, I like telling them that story.
That's a great one. Yeah. Treat them all the same when you're talking like on my side, because I'm mostly stage side, but it generally goes back to Camp Bisco and Peach a couple of years ago, where it was the first year that I had the backstage area was mine to control in regard of the loading dock space and that whole area. And traditionally, that is a disaster where they just cannot, it was impossible to just keep that area clear so you could back in trucks and buses and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we got, the one of the higher ups from the Philadelphia office came up and saw my backstage and was like, where is everybody? And to me, I was proud of that one.
Nice.
That's again, what shows you what matters to me is that we kept, I basically stood guard. I think we went through 2 or 3 miles of caution tape that year, but I kid, but yeah, that's one of the big ones. Like this year is going to be, once we're out of this, it's going to be so full of those proud moments. Like, we went out and did Red Rocks with not a soul in the place, and it was glorious. It would have been, we've done it as well with, jam-packed, and that's more glorious. But being able to pull off these events that we have in this time in the venue, it was pretty great. One would be when the crowd rushed the stage in another Michigan story years apart, but Insane Clown Posse was on the stage, and we had an agreement.
That sounds about right.
Well, the agreement was because they like to invite people on the stage, and we had an agreement that they weren't going to do that with the artists, or from management all the way down to the artists and their stage manager, and they agreed that they weren't going to do it because they have a lot of props. It's a mobile stage. There's a lot of weight and things, and then again, too much will cause not good things potentially. Long story short is, as they were about to finish, the tour manager came over and said, would any of your team like to come out and spray Faygo? So I went over to the stage left, and it was where in the production world, monitor world, so it's very protected so that it doesn't get wet. And they had cut out this little hole in the plastic, and I had my phone out, and I was like, this is gonna be hilarious, it's gonna be great. Right. And we have regular concert style Mojo barricade, and everybody starts hopping that and hopping onto the stage. You can hear me go, not good, not good, not good, not good. And I start running around the front, and I get to the front, and I see our security detail, which was fairly robust, cowering almost underneath the stage because they didn't want to get wet. What do you say you do here? That vibe, so.
That's not your job.
That's one of them that you tell the family, because they'll get everybody knows who Insane Clown Posse is because name. It's just
yes.
Except for
they live up to their legends.
Yeah, I don't think my grandmother knew that.
But even if you said that you work with this artist and you say the name, they go, ooh, I don't think that's going to end well.
Every time.
Be like,
well,
you're
and the whole thing with the soda comes out, and then you blow their mind with, like, it's actually sugar free. And like, whoa. Yeah.
It doesn't stick.
Well known fact.
Sugar sticky, yeah.
They bring their
But
own.
it still smells like cotton candy everywhere.
They bring their own carpet, and the Faygo is sugar free. You heard it here, folks.
All right. Look at all that. All the little special details. Had no idea. Well, and I know you guys work on, all artist touring and stuff, but I remember that Sameen, you usually have a heavy hand in South by Southwest. How has Austin been affected with South by going digital this past year?
Well, I don't really know how the digital conference is going to work. I haven't really heard much talk about it. And, because here it's all about community. So having the event go away was just like shocking and astonishing. And we had like this running joke in town being like, did you hear South by's canceled? And like, it was just this thing that we had going for 6 months. I might have even said it yesterday. And I think, I recently came in, started a bar business with a few friends of mine here. And for us, yeah, it was something that hurt. But I think real businesses, the businesses that are thoughtful of what's to come, you have business 365 days a year. And losing South by is devastating, but it shouldn't break your business type of deal. Like a pandemic breaks your business, but
Right.
The conference doesn't. I think the thing that we miss most is just the amount of people that came into town. Like we have friends, Gary and Sarah, and we only see them once a year at dinner during South by. And like, well, now we don't get to see Gary and Sarah for 2 years, And so there's things like that, I think, that really hurt the community and hurt the town. But I'm curious to see what happens with the virtual conference. I hope it's successful. I hope they stay afloat. It is such a big part of March and something that I really, really hope comes back.
Yeah, same here. What have you guys been working on in 2020?
Okay, this is a good question. I started with Insomniac in February, working on sustainability. I was thinking about my career in general, and High Times is great because you do so many events, and I was like, well, who does more? And where can I grow? And Insomniac was sort of this next big shiny star for me. Fate aligned, great job interview, and got this awesome role. They have been incredible and have kept me on through the pandemic in a smaller capacity, but nonetheless, have kept my mind going, which I'm so grateful for, and have really, invested in what the future of festivals would be. How do we get closer to a carbon neutral footprint? What are the initiatives we can look at with solar energy, composting on site, food waste programs, donating to local charities, and water recycling is a big one for us. So how do you take water out of the lake and turn it into drinking water? So it's been so fun and really nice to do it at a slow pace. Busy with that, busy with Billy Strings. I'll let Bill kind of tell you all about that. And then also we started working more on merch. So we're doing Bacardi's merch line, which has been really successful for us. And, I'm designing coolers and bodysuits and bandanas and all these things I never thought I was doing, but it's been a really great learning experience. So as awkward as 2020 was, I think it was actually a really great growing year for me.
Wow. Yeah, and a lot of new talents and skills. So I like hearing that you're able to kind of put all of those together, and hopefully you have a pretty successful merch line.
Yeah, I'll tell you the number one item is the candle, the rum Coquito candle.
I mean, I love candles.
Yeah, me too.
I buy them a lot. All right, I'm going to be buying some Bacardi candles. Everybody hears it. I'll show it to you. Hold it over here. I'm going to do it. And Bill, how have you been spending 2020?
As with any year, we're generally a little lighter in January. This is all Billy Strings touring, so we were a little, fairly light in January, and then picked it up in February, and then we ended up going out and doing a tour and that was with the full band, and we did this really cool thing called Family Strings, and it was a duo tour with he and his dad. His dad taught him how to play guitar, and it was a really, really special thing that we ended right at the end of February, and then we flew back to Nashville after the tour was over, or drove back rather. And then a tornado came, and I had some things cancel, and then here we are. So the tornado is kind of like the harbinger of things to come, unfortunately. And oddly enough, it almost felt like it. It was really strange to be there. And what we ended up doing is, and I'll segue into merch, is we had to put a merch sale with 100% of the proceeds going to benefit those in need at that time, and we were pretty happy with how that ended up, with the amount that we were able to raise. So what we decided to do was just kind of, as they say, pause for a minute and then just try to come up with some new ideas. And what we ended up doing is we started in his living room with the stream in April, and then in May we moved to the dining room. And then I don't think we did anything that was our own in June. And we just kind of peppered it in with, folks ask you to, this outlet or that outlet asks you to be a part of something. So we did a lot of creating of that content. And then over the summer, we decided to do a tour, and we did a streaming tour of venues in Nashville. So on and on, then we moved on to larger venues, like I said, mentioned Red Rocks, things like that. But so that we were able to keep the crew busy and employed, and keep the kind of the momentum going. So then we also had, Billy and his fans loved his merch, so we were able to and I had basically with you remember Tony helps us get the online store going and everything and maintain. So we start with the merch, and it's successful. We continue to donate money, and up to the second, the merch does well, and we continue our Billy's charitable efforts that way. So during that process, she had been his business manager, but as his business manager, come in and help, because we were just getting thousands and thousands of orders. You know what I mean? So
wow.
With all that, she then got the merch bug, and we were able to secure a few clients, and that's what's kept the year busy. We've done lots of gigs.
But I think for all of us, it's really understanding and remembering that we will return to live events. We will gather again. You will probably have somebody else's sweat on you at a concert, and things will go back to normal.
That's right. Well, tell us more about Hank and Ed. How did you guys decide to kind of create this management company, and what's kind of on the horizon for Hank and Ed in the future?
Yeah, great question. Something we're really proud of. So Hank and Ed took us a really long time to come up with a company name. We knew we liked things like the number 8, 11, salty things, wine, and we just couldn't really come up with stuff. And then Bill came to me with an idea one day and said, my grandparents are Henrietta and Ed. They call my grandma Hank. What do you think of Hank and Ed? And I was like, perfect. Sounds like so much fun. And so we went forward with it. And our goal was really to establish a company where we could cut a lot of the drama of places that we had worked previously, and just allow people to work with us, work for us, work without us, and have the benefits of having a company be supportive but not shackle you down. We have tons of people that work with us. They don't only work with us, they work with other people too. And so it's been nice and slowly building our brand, but I think we value our clients so much more. I would say the future on my end, I think, is really, really focusing on the merchandise. People are always going to need clothing, which is kind of nice and a little bit more bulletproof as you look at live events only as your business. Doing a lot more financial support for clients, bookkeeping, accounting, general business planning, how to navigate, unemployment and PPP loans, all that boring but yet important stuff. And then also I think that, we're still offering a lot of consulting services for events. And when they come back online, Hank and Ed will be ready to go. And we've got a great team. I think a lot of our team members too, and they're still cranking away with us as much as possible. But on the artist management side, it's a whole other world.
True, and that's kind of the beauty of it. But yeah, on the artist side, we had, when we first started out, we needed a company name because I was doing 5 or 6 artists at the time. So we're going to keep on pushing with Billy. I mean, there's a lot of things in the works. Again, we'll continue with streams and got some drive-in stuff, and then we've booked, well, 2020 and 2021 we're booked 7 times, 5 different ways. So, but we are back. I mean, we're 21 is locked up. We're looking at 22 is getting close to booked, and he'll be touring the world. And then we have an album coming out, and honestly, I think we're never going to be home once this thing finally gets in the wind again. And I look forward to it. I mean, nobody was ever home. Now we've been home for almost a year for the most part, where if we were home for 2, like you had 2 consecutive weekends at home, it was insane. So it was time to party. But we have a lot of people that work with us, like 30, 40, 50 people that on any given gig we're bringing in. So I would love to be able to just give everybody the call and say, hey, you're locked up for the next 4 years, and, get a good suitcase.
Yeah.
And here are all your offer letters. That's the dream, is that we can, employ it really is, they're all of our friends and family, not biological, but I mean, every one
pretty
of
darn
us.
close.
Yeah, it's pretty close,
Yeah. Your chosen family has a strong bond. And I have a question about all this travel that you're doing. I know with a lot of artist tours, a lot of it's on a bus. What's your preferred way of travel? Is it by a plane, or do you like the good old bus on the road? We
like bus travel when we're touring, and we like it especially now because it's your own little capsule that you can kind of control, obviously, but it is much more preferred to kind of keep everybody in the same spot.
I love it because you have Wi-Fi the whole time, so very productive. It's not like Southwest Wi-Fi where you're trying to connect every majority of your flight. I'm sorry, Southwest, I do love you, but got to work on your Wi-Fi. But that's kind of the great part of the bus too. Is like you can have your little pod, you can put your headphones on, you get business done, and not have to. Or you could just kick up your feet, take a nap. There's so many benefits to it. So
let me know how
big fan.
But to that point, we have again, Billy's business is a family business basically, and we're all on that bus for the most part. And things happen and can move a lot quicker when we're out in the front lounge we actually use this one particular bus that has 2 desks, and we love that one. Havana, she's called.
Yep.
But we like that one because then like 3 or 4 of us can be working all at the same thing, and then I'll get a call and be like, yeah, give me 1 second, and then instead of having to go through the thing of finding Billy and be like, hey, can we do it? I just walk back to the lounge where they're doing their thing, playing video games and whatnot, riding down the highway, be like, good, okay. And then I go right back, and there we go.
Yeah, it's an office on wheels. So that's good, especially because you guys have your hands in so many multiple markets with multiple clients. It's kind of like when you're on the road with one client, you can still work for 4 others at the same time, which is great.
Yes.
This means like, yeah,
it is.
It is.
It's for me this year. I have only had a couple other instances where I've needed to focus on other clients, as usually I never really toured with him because I was always at an event. Same thing goes, like when we go back to work, the stage manager that I used for the past few years is now Billy's stage manager. So he's not coming back if, to the other gigs, and
That's our tug of war next year.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, like,
Gotcha.
so there's going to be some interesting things, where we're going to have to figure a couple things out. But I mean, the team right now on our touring squad is just, I put the Pepsi challenge up against anybody. They're all rock stars.
We've had this reset. We've all reprioritized in our mind what events are and what they should be. What's your hope for the event industry in the future?
Great question. My hope really is, while we all were in our first real lockdown quarantine, all around the globe, you look at places like China where the factories were shut down, and I understand the impact that is to the working force, but also look what that did for the environment. You could see most cities that usually had a cloud of, exactly, yeah, whatever the magical word is. Smog, yes.
Yeah.
And just the lake in Austin was clearer than it's ever been. And so I think about that in events, and we have such a big footprint, right? Trash, food waste, confetti. And I really hope that companies don't take the pandemic as everything needs to be single use, and we're back into this like containers and tons of trash. And they really look at a way to do things properly. Mm-hmm. Maybe have more sanitation stations back of house so that we can reuse materials. I think that's a big thing of mine, is like how that is going to work. And so when we do return, it's not, we didn't pollute, the world for a year, so let's double pollute it now. I think that's my big thing. And I would say, I think people are bullish. And am I scared? A little bit, but I want my industry to come back. I want everyone to go back that hasn't worked, and I want them to feel the euphoria that comes with putting on events. And, the NFL has done a really big, impactful way to have people in the stadium. And I think they're paving the path.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.